Hey there, everybody. Wanted to come back and talk more about the visionary state stuff, and I think this time I'm going to talk about when I went to see Frontline Assembly in spring of '99. And so, if you've been watching my videos, I did one, and I put these in different playlists. I did one I call "My Life, My Pictures" number 18, and I thought that was a cool coincidence because that's going to be about my life during the year of '99 and going into 2000. Now that's what I consider to be an epic year because there were a lot of really interesting things about this year, like the visionary state experience I'm going to share later. Like it was kind of cool going to my grandma's house one more time where she lived down in the Florida Keys, and then she bought another house up in Fort Lauderdale after that. And then brought my friend Chris along to meet my family. I saw my cousin Steven and his parents one more time. And so boy, it's been like 25, almost 25 years since I've seen those people in that house. Well, my grandma I've visited a couple of times, but that's besides the point. So just a big year. And then in 2000, moved out of the Acacia building. That was kind of like, it was my second apartment in Denver, but it was the one I lived in for over 5 years. So it was kind of like a big transition for me to move out of there. So I'm going to be talking about that. And so if you look at that video on My Life, My Pictures, it's almost like a framework or a rough outline of what's going to happen to me during the years 99 and 2000, where I feel like when I come back and go over that part of my life with all these visionary state things, then it just sort of colors it all in, right? So anyways, it's not like it's the only thing going on in my life, because I guess I have other things going on in my life, but this is just that such a central story because I think it's pretty immense in my life. And out of all the psychic phenomena I've experienced, I think going to visionary state and being kind of strung along all these years is it's a pretty long story, but it's really impressive when you look at how it was done. So that's why I'm sharing this in part. But it's also, again, like the healing and clearing and tra-la-la I've been talking about. It's kind of nice to just shout out all my stories and let go of the pain that comes with it. And when I look back at like 98 and the 99, it really seems to be like, it's probably true for a lot of people that have looked back at their 20s, their teens and 20s, one of the most embarrassing times of my life, like trying to do that I'mSoSexy.com thing, for example. So along with that, I want to bring up how the visionary slips are so sneaky that I almost forgot to mention. I think, the I'mSoSexy.com thing, I may have had visionary slips that made me think. Like, for example, when they changed the Frontline Assembly's band site to mindphaser.com, it could have been a coincidence, like they were going to do that already, but it seemed as if I had a conversation where I showed this picture of Bill with the word mind phasing, which is a reference to the song Mind Phaser. So I thought maybe I gave them that idea, and it kind of bugged me. And then I guess that would be kind of flattering, to be honest, but it still kind of bugged me at the moment when I thought so. And then I thought I saw my pussy on this album, Psychic TV compilation or something that my dad picked up at Wax Trax Records, and thought, well, that could have been another one of those visionary slips where one of my viewers asked me to pose a certain way, but then they said the picture was going to be used for like an album cover. So it may not have been mine, but somehow it was just memorable. When I saw the collage, and it probably took a few takes, but then I thought, boy, I sure hope that's not what I think it is, right? So it's very subtle. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, this is something that could just make you really paranoid, and that's what makes it look like psychosis, So anyways, by doing the I'm So Sexy thing, I made friends with that guy, Chris Johnson, over Frontline Assembly. So he's one of the people that I connected with when I invited them in. The only person, actually, I don't know how many of them came over, but he's the one that kind of came forward and spoke to me as if, he wanted to make friends with me because, he saw my needs, he's making his own music and he's got a little band, and, I thought this was someone I might be able to work with and he could help me, really, learn some basic stuff like for example, what equipment I should be looking for and how I should put my setup together. And so when I got to his house, so I think it was like not too long after I got back from my dad's house, because I went down for Christmas and New Year's. It seemed like I was on the bus to Salt Lake City, Utah, pretty quick to go see Chris. And so while I was out there, I come to find out later that he had a girlfriend that he didn't want me to know about and didn't want her to know about me. So he might have been, I don't know, interested in stuff like that. I was kind of hoping for a boyfriend too, but I tried not to, what you call, go too far with him. And so that kind of frustrated him a little bit. Well, I think it frustrated him a lot, but since I found out he was with another girl, I'm kind of glad I didn't have sex with the guy. So to put it like that, I did cuddle with him and all that stuff, and we almost did it. So, anyways, just to mention, like, I didn't do it to this guy, but I don't know if I was out there for about a week, but the singer from his little band didn't like me, and I don't know, like, they were a Mormon family. They were kind of close. Like, he was living at his parents, and they just had this really big house, and he had his room down on the end, and one of the rooms was like their synthesizer room, so he had lots of synthesizers, and he seemed like he knew what he was doing and stuff, but he seemed like an amateur. Like he had potential, but he was like an amateur, So Alpha Star. So, let me show you. I think it's cool that I still have this, even though it's in Mirror Vision. I still have this Alpha Star record. I don't know, like, I'm not in a hurry to find a tape player to put that in. I mean, it's okay. Maybe one of these days I'll play it again just for fun. But anyways, what happened there is he introduced me to his brother Michael Johnson, and said that he was somebody. He works in the music business. He's like a tech guy, and I don't know. Maybe he goes on tour with Frontline Assembly, And so there was some kind of mention that I might see him with Frontline Assembly if they. I don't know, like, how many, like, stage hands they take with him. I really don't know much about how that works, but interesting thing is when I went to the show, I think I saw him in the audience. So maybe this is something where, like, so you gotta wonder, was this a visionary slip, or was this true that Chris Johnson's brother Michael was at that show? Maybe I did see him there. And so I'll be telling about that show a little bit. But before that, I had this friend named Ken Cash. And so I don't know. I was hanging around with some pretty low grade people at the time. I don't know, just being careless and lonely. Like, I didn't have enough friends. But I ended up letting Ken stay with me because I think I accidentally got him kicked out of where he was staying. And since he had the certificate for like $10,000, it looked like he won, I don't know, like the lotto or something. So he was kind of using that to make me feel like, don't worry, I got money, I just got to cash this ticket. But then it just kind of went on, and then he ended up ripping me off, like taking some of my music down to some used record place. So anyways, having Ken there, he brought up this friend named Bob. Now, the thing about this Bob guy is, like, this has come up before. Now this time he's telling me Bob's I don't know if he went to the studio or if he just told him about it, but he's telling me that Bob has been going to the studio down off of like I-25, someplace south of Denver, or maybe like down towards Arapahoe Avenue that way. Down near Centennial. So talking about the studio and like, oh, this is something you'd be interested in, Jody. And I'm like, probably not. And it's like, yeah, but Jody's the kind of music you listen to. And he's telling me that this guy also has a warehouse where they throw parties sometimes, and I'll know it because there's going to be bicycles hanging from the ceiling. And so this was also another one of those little premonitions. Like, I would see a warehouse place with the bicycles hanging from the ceiling, and so then it would make me sort of want to make that connection. So not sure, But then a few years later, I met this guy named Kyle Lake, and he said he was involved with Delirium's album Poem as a didgeridoo player, and he also plays a little synthesizer, but said that he lives in the Centennial area and has a studio down there, and thought, maybe that's what they're talking about. So like like earlier on, like my friend Jason was telling me that Frontline Assembly's in the Denver area a lot, so who knows, maybe that's another one of those connections, kind of like earlier my friend Dan was saying he had this friend named Bob as well who picked him up at Cheeseman Park. So that's where it makes you wonder if Ken and Bob also had a sugar daddy relationship, and and at any rate, So it's kind of messed up little stuff like that, just like plants these little seeds where later on I'm gonna like link this all together. I'm like, oh, so that's who Bob is, huh? So before I went to see Frontline Assembly this spring. Um, oh, so spring of '99. I think that's when they had the Columbine tragedy. That was like a really sad event, right? And I remember that day just like I felt like something was really off, and I was working at that gas station again, and somebody comes walking in saying, have you heard about the Columbine tragedy? And I'm like, so so crazy. Like, so sometime after the Columbine tragedy, that girl Donna. So I brought up this girl Donna in an earlier discussion on like when I went to see Frontline Assembly. Well, that was the network representative that came and squeezed in and told Bill, whatever you do, don't let this psycho bitch take you home. Well, Dinah stopped and invited me to come with her, and she explained the whole how, like, ever since the Columbine tragedy, anybody that looks like a freak has been getting attacked by people. Like, they'll throw snowballs at them, just yell at them, or sometimes even hurt people. So she was kind of doing me a favor because I was out there, after midnight waiting to catch the bus, and she may have noticed me a time or two, but this time she went by and she even did a U-turn to come back and get me too. So as we were driving downtown, it's like, so you going to the Frontline Assembly show? So we chatted about that a little bit, and at some point she brought up, I think I might have mentioned somebody went up to, it ruined my night when somebody went up to Bill Eve and told him, not to let me take him home and stuff, and she's like, well, you know who that was, right? And so I said, I don't know that person, and they don't know me, is how I put it, just letting them know. I didn't think that was fair to say that. They don't know me. But at the same time, I kind of wonder if she was kind of hinting that, somebody else had said that to her, actually. So maybe, Bill's wife is the one that told her, oh, I don't want that psycho bitch to take Bill home, so she may have. So it makes you wonder where it's coming from. Like, anyways, it's just how, it's kind of like being in high school again. Like I was saying, I felt like going to see FLA was kind of like moving to the Florida Keys for the first time, and just when I thought I was looking for my family. So anyways, I thought this was an opportunity to try to make friends and make this positive. Like I'm not into like, oh, let's keep the drama going. But I did try to talk about it a little bit, and then invited them to. I think she got her boyfriend, and we went to my apartment, and I invited them to come down and smoke some pot. But like again, I was just really going through a bad time, and I like to put colored lights in my my ceiling light, but I don't know, I think it was bad taste of me to put a yellow light in, so I had a yellow light that day. And I didn't keep that light around for very long, by the way, but it was just on that day that I was still using it. And not to mention, I dragged all the things out of my closet. Like my closet was piling up, and it was time to sort it out, and so maybe I had that waiting for me to come home from work to work on that. So I just had that big heap there in the middle of my floor, and I didn't think about that when I was bringing those guys down to smoke some pot, but it was just like, whatever. And so anyways, it's kind of funny, during that visit, I figured, well, she's a network representative, so I asked her, you ever heard of Chris and Cozy? And so it's just funny that she didn't know who they were, so I just feel like this is somebody that doesn't really know our music, but she's willing to participate and, being one of these people that are like, yeah, don't let Jody around Bill or whatever, just, because in a ways I felt like some of these people are trying to treat me like I'm the imposter, that I don't belong here. Anyways, again, I was trying to be friendly by bringing them down, and then when Donna said, do you have any pills, like, Vicodin, and I don't know if what all she named, like, I don't know, all that stuff. And just my little joke was like, hey, I'm not a sniffer, I'm a tripper, I just like pot and psychedelics. I don't mess with narcotics and all that bullshit, So the funny thing about making that comment is that joke came back to me a few years or so after that. Like, so Chris Peterson from Frontline Assembly, he got involved with some pretty girl from the Fashion Nation store, and so I seen her at a party. Like after we all went to the club, somebody had a little party, and I seen her there, and I invited her just because I'm a friendly person to come outside. I think I knew who she was at the time, and I invited her to come out and smoke some pot. And then she's like, let me see, how's that say go? We're not trippers, we're sniffers. And they literally went in the bathroom and did coke after making her little joke, you know? So, I mean, not that I'm slandering them, but just, it really, you know, it kind of flattered me to hear my little joke come back after all that time, because that means, you know, of course, they must talk about me. For example, like, you know, bringing Donna down into my dungeon while it was all messy like that, it looked like shit, you know. And so, like, the following summer, by the way, I think I saw Carol Ann and this big dude standing outside of the Netherworld Cafe. And, you know, I was just walking back to my apartment. I was, like, across the street, you know, on the other corner even. And I saw her, like, speak to him a little bit. But then he started cussing me out and being like, go away, you piece of shit, and don't you ever come back here again. And then he's like, Roach Motel. And he looked at that same guy, you know, that we saw at the concert before, you know, back in 98. You know, up the alley, like, we're trying to find Bill Lee and stuff over by the tour bus. And that guy's like, see you later, groupies, you know. So that seems like the same guy in 2007 when I went to see Frontline Assembly that ended up trying to hurt me in the mosh pit, too. So, again, I didn't know who Carol Ann was at the time, but I kind of remembered her from that show and stuff. And, you know, and I'm seeing her talking to that guy, and I'm just thinking, oh, no. Like, I thought she wanted to make friends with me, and I'm just thinking, well, she must be part of that crew, you know, the whole Fashion Nation crew or whatever. So I was kind of bummed out. You know, I still wasn't sure who she was, but now that I know who she was, then I'm like, aha. You know, so, you know what I'm saying? It's like, back to that saying, you know, sometimes bands don't bring their girlfriends around because they're troublemakers. You know, somebody did mention to me later on that, you know, Bill Lee had been in town that summer and hanging out at the Netherworld. So I'm kind of thinking, well, maybe that's why she was there. Maybe he was inside when she was out there with that guy, and he was like, get out of here, just to make sure, you know, I don't go and bother him. I didn't even know he was there, right? So that's just an example of, like, the way they're treating me. So, like, anyways, so I see Donna, invite her to my house before going to the show, and, you know, that's when she was asking me if I'm going and saying she's not sure if she's going. But of course, I seen her when I got there, right? Now, when it comes to the visionary state stuff, it seems like most of it happens when I'm sober, like, and when it comes to taking LSD, I really don't hallucinate so much. I just sort of, like, I get energy, you know, I just feel like it makes me feel more creative and energetic. And so I did take some acid, you know. I know I don't usually take too much. I've always been kind of like no more than 4 hits at a time, you know. So I don't know. I think I had some good acid, and I went to Frontline Assembly, and I was dancing and doing my, you know, kung fu dancing, and I thought I seen that dude that could have been Chris Johnson's brother, so his name would be Michael Johnson, and I could hear him laughing with some people pointing at me, man. I'm like, here, man, what is she on, cocaine or something? And so after the show, I come out of the theater. So we're at the Ogden Theater there on Colfax. I come out and I'm starting to head to my house, and there's this brown van with these guys going, there she is, and I knew they were kind of getting me back for the year before, you know, because, you know, I thought I was invited to that party, but then I got labeled as a stalker, so they're punishing me for trying to crash their party, right? So I knew what they were doing, and I thought, well, maybe it's playful, I don't know how to take it, but I just thought, well, before I start getting paranoid, maybe I'll test these guys. So I crossed the street, and I made them follow me through the parking lot, kind of like across from the building I used to live in over on Pearl Street. So that was like the first place I lived for a couple months, and that's why I moved out, because it's kind of scary right there, right? But I was in the mood to act brave, you know, and just make them follow me, and I was looking everywhere. I was hoping I could find something good to throw, to be honest. I wanted to take them by surprise, because I kind of realized I wasn't really in any danger. That's partly why I did this, just so you know. But I did make them walk across, no, I made them follow me, because I was walking across the street and through the parking lot of this building where I used to live. And then before we got up to the alley, that's when I stopped and I turned to those guys, and I acted like I was going to walk up to open their door, and then they, like, sped off. So I couldn't really get a good look at who was in there. But I recognized this van being parked outside the Netherworld later on. Now, I went home. I wasn't sure if I really wanted to go down there or not after that. But I thought, well, I should try one more time because I really wanted to try Bill Leeb. I just felt like it's not, I really felt like he didn't have a problem with me still. You know, I was still hoping to give him a try. And so I had a funny little comic I made that made Bill Leeb and Reese Fulber look like Ren and Stimpy, and I called it Fartline of Family. And so I had that in my pocket, and I was going to go talk to them and say, you know, just wanted to make them laugh. You know, I'd had that little comic for a couple of years hanging on my refrigerator. And so it was time for it to go on their refrigerator. But when I came into the netherworld, I was trying to walk down between the bar and where Bill Leeb was sitting, and just then somebody was coming the other way, and I tried to turn sideways, and I accidentally brushed against him, and I swear to God, I was trying not to do something like that. I really wanted to make things peaceful. And then, so I go over to the jukebox, and I'm trying to look around, see if I could find something good, you know, like maybe some Clock DVA or something like this. And then I could hear people talking shit, you know, like, oh, look, there's the girl that was trying to get Bill Leeb in bed last year. And then I could see that jerk from Fashion Nation. Oh, you should have seen her, man. She's just like this, talking about how I get into the music. And then kind of started making me mad, you know. And so I found Silence by, you know, Delirium Silence, the one they did with Sarah McLachlan now. I think I brought up to him before, like when I wrote that one letter that started this all, right, that, you know, maybe I'd seen in my visions and I may have seen him in my dream, you know, and I thought, well, like hearing that song, you know, definitely wondered about that, like if there's any connection and stuff. So I picked that song, kind of to be a brat too. And then I sat down at the table by the jukebox, and I look over, and I noticed, so Bill had got up and changed seats because I accidentally bumped into him. And I look over, and he's just staring right at me. So I kind of looked at him like this, like, I'm kind of pissed at him, you know? So I kind of made that I'm pissed at you kind of face. And then I looked away, and then he got up and went in the other room. So when you're at the netherworld, like, one part of it's kind of where the bar is, and the jukebox is over here. But then you go through the doorway, and then it's like I don't know, like 3 or 4 pool tables and the big booth seats back there. It's kind of a neat place. You know, actually someplace I've, you know, spent a lot of time. Not like a whole lot of time, but some memorable times, you know. Like this one. Ha! So I go in there, I'm looking around, and he's all gone. And I notice these people are kind of hovering around the bathroom. And the girl that sings for the band that opened for them, she's sitting there with her face in her hands. Like, it looked like something really bad's going on down there. And so I'm sitting down at this table, kind of like thinking, well, I'll just wait around and see if I could talk to Bill, you know. And then the drummer, I guess that would have been Jason, came over and sat down, and he talked me into leaving, you know. And I said, yeah, I know you guys all just think I'm crazy. He's like, no, we don't think you're crazy. He's like, I like you, that's why I talk to you. I think that's when I whipped out the picture and gave it to him. He's just like, oh, isn't that cute? He's like, okay, we're gonna hang this up in the bus for you. So it makes me wonder, like, if anybody kept that picture, you know, like if it made it to anyone's fridge or not. I thought it was hilarious. It was Fartline of Flemley, Bill Leeb and Reese Fulber as Ren and Stimpy. I thought it was funny. Anyways, maybe I thought it was funny and they didn't, but as long as I think it's funny, that's all that matters. So, speaking of comics, I did a comic strip about this, you know, because, you know, this is something that really hurt my feelings. I felt so bad that, you know, like if Billy was hiding in the bathroom from me, you know, what the fuck did they think I was gonna do to him? Did they think I went home and got a gun or something, you know? Or is he, you know, maybe he just needed to go in there to do some lines. But point being is that was really upsetting. I mean, I was upset the time before, but this was just even more of a painful experience. But again, it's 25 years ago, and I've been in contact with Bill Leeb, and I really like to think maybe we've made peace. So I'm not, you know, so whatever I say, remember, this is somebody who I do value greatly, but I do like to make jokes about him, because if you notice, like Mad Magazine, they tend to make fun of who's popular. Like, they've made some mention of, like, 9 Inch Nails, but I've never seen them talk about stuff like Frontline Assembly, so I feel like in their absence, I like to think These are funny and they're not meant to hurt anyone's feelings. By the way, I wanted to share this. I still have the stub from that show. Isn't that nice? Now, the comic I made was One Fine Evening at Cafe Netherworld. See, there's Bill Lee having coffee with the goths. Now, I think I heard Bill Lieb say something around this time that he was going to be making his last Frontline Assembly album, you know, because that Delirium single he did with Sarah McLachlan was so successful. And now he's got all that money, he's living comfortably, and he has nothing to be angry about. So, which is kind of interesting in itself, because my dad often says, there's a lot of people in the music business, like particularly like when it comes to hardcore music and punk music and stuff like that, where they have the emotional fuel to make music like that until they make money, and then they can't make music like that. So it was kind of funny that Bill Lee would say something like that. But what I'm saying right there, it's funny now because, let me see, he said something like that around 98 or 99 that he was going to make his last FLA record. And it's been over 20 years. He's still making albums and he's still touring. So, ha! Anyways. So, it's a little exaggeration on the receding hairline, but probably not so much as far as his big old Adam's apple goes. Ha! Or that big wrinkly forehead. Look at that. There's my self-portrait. There I am, coming in and making Bill Lee drop his coffee. Man, did he ever run fast to escape me. So that's another over-exaggeration, but, you know. But like that, I gave Bill some big industrial strength looking boots even. And then, just so you know that he's in the men's bathroom, I put a urinal next to him. And he's tightening down his hoodie. Yeah, so got that. Right, so I tend to make light of heavy matters. That's why I like to make jokes about industrial music and people like Bill Lee, and particularly this incident, because, like, I mean, I'm really very sorry if he felt that he was in any danger that night, but what if he just didn't want me to see his bald spot? Because when I was behind him, I wasn't looking, but if I wanted to, I could have looked directly at Bill and noticed. Now, when it comes to Bill's hair, like, I don't know, I was totally one of those visions that he is losing his hair, but it's really not that bad. And like I said, this is him in 2007. Oh, I have it covered up, but I had another opportunity to see Bill Lee, and that's where I got this picture taken. So I just thought, man, he is a lot more photogenic than I am. So just to say, hey, you know, I don't know very many people that make comics about Bill Lee or Frontline Assembly, but I have a few here that are probably more personal. And I used to think it'd be funny to create, maybe I should create a comic book about them, kind of like, you know, the Freak Brothers and Fat Freddy's Cat style, you know. But that's all right. I have another video. I think it might even say something like my cartoons and stuff, so I share all that. But I just thought I'd pull it out to lighten up the story. But yeah, basically what I wanted to share in this video was, I don't know, I think this was a depressing part of my life to begin with, okay, with all this other stuff going on, like, and then I go to see Frontline Assembly, and it was like, I can't really think of any dreams that, oh yeah, I almost left out something super important also, like, at the show when I seen, Chris Johnson's brother, like, that could have very well been a real thing, like meeting his brother in Utah and seeing him there. But with these visionary slips, you're never too sure. But then one that I'm for sure is a visionary slip is I saw my friend Charlie on stage, and I got him confused with Jed, you know, but I remember looking at him and distinctly noticing how he was dressed. He was wearing like a Velvet Underground t-shirt, long straight reddish hair, and these pants with like a Misfits patch on it. And so after a while, I'd be introduced to Charlie, and eventually start remembering, I thought I saw him at that concert. So at some point I started assuming Charlie was one of Bill's friends, trying to get in on me without me noticing it. But it turns out that was a visionary slip, and Charlie was never on stage with those guys. So, yeah, I think I wanted to point that out because this catches up with me later. It's really funny too, because I started thinking that Charlie knew Bill Lieb, and he doesn't at all. So, and so, let me see. Doing the I'm So Sexy thing, that's where I met Chris, and of course he's a real person. I went and met him, introduced to his brother, Ken Cash. That's so funny. I don't know if that's like his nickname, but him filling me in on Bob, the studio space, the warehouse space with the bikes, stuff like that, because it seemed like I made connections with those later. And then when I was hanging out with Donna, it was just funny. Like, I think all of this was sort of real life with Donna here, but having the we're not sniffers, we're not trippers, we're sniffers, man. That was just classic, having that little joke come full circle. But with her, with seeing like that lady, it looked like Carol Ann and that big jerk talking shit about me. It's like, so this is something where like I have to connect the dots and be like, oh, that explains everything. So I find out that was Bill's wife, and she was the one running a smear campaign against me. So, it was kind of a fun show, and I danced my ass off, but then like afterwards going in the bar with those guys and stuff like that, I mean, I just feel like those guys made me out to be a pretty bad person. And so I feel like earlier on I was saying I feel like they're kind of making me the scapegoat, and this is like a lot of times like when there's a narcissistic system and they want to like, and there's maybe a key player there, like let's say Bill likes having the attention diverted, so he just kind of let it be that it is and didn't do a whole lot to stop it. But at the same time, I find out things later like, okay, that's why this happened, and so now I don't feel so bad. Like, okay, I didn't make the connection back then, but he had a lot of little things, like a lot of things that like it's nobody's fault. It was just a bad time, regardless of who thinks what or who does what, right? So, anyways, the reason I share all these little stories, it's just amazing how the details fit in, just like like the thing with Bob and Baldus and all that. So I'm going to be getting into that later. Okay, but yeah, I think I always feel like when I tell these stories, I always leave something out. And so I'm just like, okay, did I leave anything out? Because I wanted to talk about the time I went to that concert. And I'm like, what else happened? Let me see. So after that concert, yeah, so I think I nailed it. I think I got everything in there this time. So I'm going to end it here. Thanks for listening. I have a lot more stories about what happened in '99 to share. So I'll be back soon.